I slapped my boyfriend's uncle at my birthday party because I thought he was about to smash my face into the cake, and now my family's split in two. Am I the bad guy here? My name's Matt, and if you had told me 5 years ago that my entire family would blow up over one betrayal, I might have laughed and said you were being dramatic. But I'm not laughing now. This is the kind of story you think only happens in movies or late-night Reddit threads, but it happened to me, and it tore my world apart in ways I'm still trying to make sense of. I used to think family meant everything, that blood was thicker than water, that no matter how messy things got, the people who raised you and grew up with you would always be on your side. I believed that with my whole heart. I built my life around it. I trusted my wife, I trusted my brother, and I trusted my parents to love us both equally. And slowly, piece by piece, that trust got shattered. Not in one dramatic explosion, but in small cracks that turned into gaping wounds. I didn't notice the warning signs at first. My wife and my brother got along, sure, but I thought it was harmless. She laughed a little too loud at his jokes. He started showing up at our place more often, always needing something. I brushed it off. Then the late-night texts started, the inside jokes I wasn't part of, the way they stopped talking the second I walked into a room, and when I finally confronted them, what I found out nearly destroyed me. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part came after, when my parents found out, and instead of standing by me, they stood by him. Their excuse? He made a mistake. She's happier with him anyway. You've always been too cold. Then they had the audacity to say I should step up and support them. They're starting a family now, my mom said, like she expected me to write checks for their happily ever after. That's when I realized this wasn't just about betrayal, it was about how quickly people will rewrite the story to protect the ones they favor, even if it breaks you in the process. And trust me, this story only gets worse from here. I'm 24 now, but this story really starts when I was 5 years old. My boyfriend Leo, he's 27, has been in my life basically forever. Our families were super close, the kind of bond you almost never see anymore. We grew up doing everything together, backyard cookouts, birthdays, holidays where both families showed up and brought food, gifts, and way too much noise. Leo's parents, Lupe and Juan, moved to the US from Mexico in their early 20s, and from day one, they just felt like family. They were loud and warm and always had something cooking on the stove, and I loved that, I really did. But there was one thing that never sat right with me. La mordida. It's a Mexican birthday tradition, where you shove the birthday person's face into the cake after everyone sings. It's supposed to be funny, supposed to be harmless, but for me, it's always been a nightmare. And it started when I was 6. I'll never forget it. Leo's uncle Alejandro, the kind of man who lives for pranks, smashed my dad's face straight into his own birthday cake. It was fast, messy, candles still lit, frosting flying everywhere. I freaked out. I screamed like something horrible had happened. I was sure the candles had burned him, that he was hurt, that everything had gone terribly wrong. I remember crying in the corner, shaking. Nobody got angry at me for overreacting. They tried to explain that it was part of the tradition, that it was all in good fun. My dad was fine, laughing even, but I was frozen. I remember my mom pulling me aside later and admitting that she and Dad knew the tradition might happen, but forgot to tell me. "We didn't think you'd take it that hard," she said, but I did. And after that, I couldn't look at birthday cakes the same way. Every year, when my birthday came around, I'd get anxious, not excited nervous. I'd watch everyone around me, wondering if someone was going to grab my head and ruin everything. Even though it never actually happened to me, just the idea of it made me feel sick. Thankfully, my family caught on. After that first scare, they made sure no one tried it on me. And Leo, he was always my protector. From the time we were kids, he'd shoot daggers at anyone who even joked about it. "Try it," he'd say, "and I'll punch you." He said it with a smile, but he meant it. It was sweet in this really fierce teenage boy kind of way. And I appreciated it. I really did, but the fear never left me. It stuck like gum on the bottom of my brain, always there, always annoying. Birthdays weren't fun anymore. They were something to survive. I'd sit at my own party feeling tense, just waiting for someone to make it about that stupid prank. And even as I got older and people promised not to do it, I couldn't relax. Everyone would laugh about it, say, "Come on, it's just cake." But to me, it wasn't. It was fear, embarrassment, violation of my boundaries, all wrapped up in frosting. It wasn't about the joke, it was about being the joke. And no matter how many times people said, "Don't worry, we won't," I never believed them fully. The thing about family is that sometimes they think because they love you, they get to override your that because it's tradition, it has to be okay. That if it's funny to them, it should be funny to you. But it's not. And that brings me to this story, the moment everything came crashing down. The moment when someone I trusted decided that my fear was less important than their fun. The moment when a boundary I had clearly drawn year after year got stomped on like it didn't matter. And the worst part, it didn't come from a stranger. It didn't even come from Uncle Alejandro. It came from Leo. Fast forward to now, Leo and I have been together for 2 years since college, and things between us are solid. We've talked about marriage, house hunting, even baby names. He's my best friend, my anchor. And despite our differences, we work. Our families are still close, still showing up for Sunday dinners, birthday parties, and backyard barbecues like nothing's changed. Uncle Alejandro, the infamous prankster, is still very much part of the picture. And honestly, he's not a bad guy. His jokes are more eye-roll than mean-spirited, like the time he and my dad literally drywalled over my bedroom door just to mess with me, or the time he replaced my shampoo with ketchup, okay, gross, but kind of funny. And when my grandma passed last year, Alejandro was one of the few people who made me laugh when I didn't think I ever would again. So yeah, I don't hate the guy. But that birthday cake moment from when I was 6, it never fully left me. I always feel that tight little knot in my stomach whenever a cake comes out. It's irrational, maybe, but it's real. And yesterday was my birthday. Leo went all out, like fairy tale level all out. He sent me to a spa in the morning, booked a full pampering package, hair, nails, massage, the works. Then his sister Daniela showed up at the hotel with a beautiful new dress she picked out for me and some heels that made me feel like a movie star. I hadn't even seen the party setup yet, but I already felt like a queen. I showed up at the house to music, candles, decorations strung across the ceiling, and tables full of our closest friends in both families. It was beautiful. The food, incredible. The energy, pure joy. I was glowing. Everything was perfect. And then came the cake. Leo's mom, Lupe, made it herself, a tall, beautiful thing with frosting, flowers, and a candle shaped like the number 24. Everyone gathered around, phones out, ready to take pictures. Leo stood next to me, beaming, and I felt so loved. I was standing there, ready to blow out the candles, when I saw movement in the corner of my eye. Alejandro, smirking, stepping up next to me. My stomach dropped like a stone. I could feel my heart beat in my ears. I remembered the cake in my dad's face, the screaming, the panic. I looked right at Alejandro, pointed my finger, and said clearly, "If you try to shove my face into this cake, I will slap you so hard you'll see stars." The room laughed, but I wasn't joking. Alejandro raised his hands and backed up like he understood. "Wouldn't dream of it," he said with a wink. I gave a small shaky smile. Maybe he actually heard me. I turned back to the cake, took a breath and leaned in. Then, just as I blew out the candles, I felt a hand press against my back, firm, intentional. Not a gentle tap or a mistake. A push. Alejandro's hand. I knew it. I felt the laughter in his body before I even hit the frosting. My face smashed into the cake. The world spun. There was yelling, gasps, flashes from someone's phone. I didn't think. I didn't even breathe. I stood up, wiped the icing from my eyes, turned around, and saw Alejandro doubled over laughing like he'd just pulled off the greatest prank of his life. Leo's eyes were wide, Daniela had her hands over her mouth, but me? I saw red. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just raised my hand and slapped Alejandro across the face. Not a playful slap, a hard one, a real one, the kind that makes the room go silent. You could hear a fork drop. Alejandro stumbled back, stunned, holding his cheek. Everyone just stared. And that was the moment something broke inside me. Not just because of the cake, but because of the disrespect, the dismissal of my fear, the violation of a boundary I'd made crystal clear. It wasn't just a prank, it was betrayal. And Leo, he stood there not saying a word. I slap Alejandro so hard my hand stings, and for a second there's complete silence. Then chaos. Leo lunges at him, face red with rage, yelling, "What the hell is wrong with you?" He's ready to throw punches, but Juan steps in and grabs him, pulling him back. My mom and Lupe are at my side in an instant, trying to clean frosting off my face and calm me down, while Alejandro is shouting from the other side of the table, hands up like he's the one under attack. "It was an accident. I didn't touch her on purpose," he keeps yelling, voice cracking over the noise. The whole party is spinning, people shouting, some filming, others frozen. A few guests rush over asking what happened, and I hear someone say, "Did she just hit him?" Another says, "Wait, why would she slap him over cake?" And in the middle of all of this, I stand there, humiliated, shaking, cake dripping from my hair. But I don't back down. I say, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I told him not to touch me." I warned him. He knew what he was doing. The people closest to me, my parents, Leo, Daniela, they back me up. They know the history. They know about my fear and Alejandro's long list of harmless pranks. But others start chiming in with their own opinions. A few think I overreacted. "You didn't even know what he was going to do," one guy says. "He didn't actually shove you," another adds, "but they weren't in my body." They didn't feel that hand push against my back. They didn't grow up with that fear hardwired into every birthday. I'm still shaking when Leo grabs my hand and says, "Let's go." We leave the party early, and I cry in the car, makeup smudged, frosting still clinging to my dress. Leo's furious not just at Alejandro, but at the people defending him. "You said no," he keeps repeating. "That should have been the end of it." I post about it online later that night, not expecting much, just wanting to know if I'm crazy for how I reacted. But the response is overwhelming. Thousands of comments flood in on Reddit, most of them firmly on my side. People call out Alejandro for ignoring a clear boundary, say it's not about the prank, but about bodily autonomy, respect, and emotional trauma. One comment stands out. He wasn't trying to be funny. He was testing how far he could push her for a reaction, hysterical, angry, whatever. And he got what he deserved. Another person wrote, "This is why people stop inviting family to weddings. Imagine what he'd do with a multi-tier cake and white dress." People praise Leo too, calling him a walking green flag for defending me and not minimizing what happened. Some suggest I should have handled it with a fake slap, or maybe pulled Alejandro aside instead, but deep down I know I meant it. And I don't regret defending myself. A few days later, we all meet up, me, Leo, and Alejandro at a local Starbucks. It's awkward at first. He looks sheepish, avoids eye contact. Then he finally says, "I swear I wasn't going to shove your face into the cake." My arms cross instinctively. "Then why'd you touch me?" He sighs, says his plan was to cue Leo's cousins from the upstairs balcony to release a bunch of balloons after I blew out the candles. "You were supposed to get showered in color, not frosting," he says. "The hand on your back," I stumbled. I didn't mean it. Leo and I exchange a look. Why didn't he just tell someone the plan? Alejandro admits he thought it would be funnier if it was a surprise. He never told Leo or me. We sit in silence until Daniela pulls up the video she took of the party. We watch it back. Alejandro really does seem to lose his footing for a second, and sure enough, at the exact moment I blew out the candles, a cousin on the second floor opens a window with a net of balloons, most of which never even fell because of the chaos. It hits me like a wave. It really was a misunderstanding. Alejandro looks me dead in the eye and says, "I'm sorry. I should have respected your boundary. I should have told you the plan. I scared you. That's on me." And for the first time, I actually believe him. I nod slowly. "Next time, ask first. Because if you ever pull something like that again," and before I can finish, he holds up his hands and laughs. I know you'll slap me into next week." We laugh. It's tense but real. We shake hands and he even tells Leo, "Dude, marry her." She doesn't play. The party fallout settles, but the lesson sticks. And then, just when I think the drama's done, life hands me round two. Because now it's time to talk about my half-sister Sherry. Buckle up. I'm 48, married to Mike, who's 52. We've been together for 8 years and work at the same place but different shifts. A couple of years ago, Sherry, who's 58, moved to our area and begged me to get her a job at our company. I was hesitant. Sherry's complicated, dramatic, always plays the victim, but I gave in. Mike said, "Don't do it," but I wanted to believe she'd be different. Big mistake. It started with her perfume, this overpowering scent that messes with my allergies. I get headaches, watery eyes, nonstop sneezing. I asked her not to wear it in the car when we carpooled. She forgot a few times. Then one day she looked me in the eye while I was driving and sprayed it in the car. I had to pull over. I was coughing so hard I couldn't breathe. She apologized, but 2 weeks later she did it again, with the door wide open this time so the whole car stank. I called her out, and she smirked and said, "What?" "It's Mike's favorite scent." That caught me off guard. I bought that cologne for Mike years ago, but he stopped wearing it because of my allergy. Why was she wearing it? The next incident shook me. At work, in front of my coworkers, Sherry shouted my name and started twerking. I was mortified. Everyone laughed. I wanted to crawl into a hole. Then, during a shift change, I kissed Mike's cheek. Nothing major, but the next day, she was silent in the car. No eye contact, no jokes, just a cold, weird energy. And then she sprayed that perfume again. Later that day, Mike called during my lunch break, said Sherry had made him uncomfortable. She waited until I left the break room and started acting weird, licking her lips, sticking out her chest, saying, "Hey, brother-in-law," in a tone that made his skin crawl. He told me straight up she was flirting, hard. My stomach dropped. Then Monica, my coworker, pulled me aside. She saw it too. So did 3 other coworkers. Sherry, who's married, was coming on to my husband. And this wasn't her first time. She once slept with our niece's husband and left her bra behind on purpose. She even got caught with our brother's girlfriend. Sherry crosses lines like they don't exist. And now she's coming for my marriage? That night, I drive Sherry home, and my hands are gripping the wheel tighter than usual because my heart's pounding. I've had enough. I've let her slide too many times. I'm done playing it cool, done trying to make peace with someone who doesn't deserve it. My plan was to confront her with her husband, Tommy, present so she couldn't lie or twist the story. But Sherry senses something's off before I even say a word. She shifts in the passenger seat and asks, kind of casually, "Did Mike say something to upset you?" I don't even try to sugarcoat it. I tell her point blank, "Yeah, he did. He said you made him extremely uncomfortable." Her eyes narrow. I repeat what Mike told me, how she looked at him like a steak on the grill, licking her lips, pushing out her chest, saying, "Hey, brother-in-law," like she was auditioning for a bad soap opera. She gasps like I just accused her of murder. "You think I'd do that to you?" she snaps. "You really believe I'd hit on your husband?" I stare straight ahead, gripping the wheel so hard my fingers ache. "I wouldn't even have brought it up if it was just Mike, but it's not. 4 of my coworkers saw you do it. Monica told me. So did James. So did Kendra. So did Tyler. They all said you were staring at him like you wanted to eat him alive." That's when the mask slips. Her face changes, not scared, not apologetic, but furious. "They're lying. Mike's lying. He's trying to start problems between us." That's when I lose it. I snap. All the years of letting things slide, her drama, her jealousy, her chaos, they all boil over. "The only reason I'm not in jail right now," I say, voice low and shaking, "is because you're my sister. If you weren't, you'd be in an ambulance, and I'd be out on bail." The silence in the car is so thick it could strangle you. She doesn't even breathe. Then, without saying a word, she demands to be let out. We're still 2 blocks from her house, but she wants out. Now! I slam the brakes harder than I need to. She jerks forward, nearly hitting the dashboard, but I don't care. She opens the door without looking at me and walks out into the night, not saying a word. I sit there for a second, staring at her silhouette disappearing into the dark, and feel the weight of 20 years finally start to lift. That was in 2021, and I haven't spoken to her since. Full no contact. No calls, no texts, nothing. She's blocked on everything. Of course, she ran straight to the rest of the family with her version of the story. In her version, Mike came on to her. In her version, I snapped out of jealousy and threw her out of the car. I expected nothing less. She's always been good at flipping the script. But here's the thing, I'm not chasing her lies anymore. I'm not cleaning up her mess. I'm not sacrificing my peace for someone who poisons every room she walked into. My family keeps trying to play peacemaker. They say, "But she's your sister." Yeah, and that's what makes this all worse, because you don't expect your sister to make moves on your husband. You don't expect your sister to spray perfume in your face knowing it triggers your allergies. You don't expect your sister to flirt, twerk, lie, manipulate, and still act like she's the one who got hurt. And Reddit? Reddit had my back 100%. The post blew up, thousands of comments, and the verdict was clear. Not the a-hole. One comment read, "She's jealous, she wants your life, and that job was just her way of being close to Mike." Another said, "Her history with your niece's husband, your brother's girlfriend, she's a pattern of walking red flags." And they're right. This wasn't just one moment of poor judgment. This was years of disrespect boiling over into something I couldn't ignore anymore. Her actions weren't accident. They were calculated, they were manipulative. and they were meant to get under my skin, mess with my life, and maybe even destroy my marriage. But it didn't work. Because Mike and I, we're solid. He told me the truth. He had my back. And that's more than I can say for most people. The best part? He told me later he'd been keeping notes, times and dates, just in case she escalated things. That's how seriously he took it. That's what real partnership looks like. Not one single time did he try to downplay what she did. Not once did he say, she didn't mean it. He looked me in the eye and said, I've got you. I always will. And that's all I needed. I didn't need her approval. I didn't need the family's forgiveness. I didn't need a reunion. I needed peace. And cutting Sherry out of my life gave me exactly that. So yeah, maybe I'm the villain in her version of the story. Maybe she still paints herself as the poor misunderstood sister, but I'm done carrying the weight of her chaos. I'm living a life she'll never be invited to again, and I'm not sorry. So, here we are. 2 stories, 2 wild rides, and a whole lot of family chaos that somehow landed on Reddit for the world to see. And honestly, I used to worry about what people would think if they'd call me dramatic, too sensitive, or unforgiving. But after everything I've been through, I've realized something powerful. Protecting your peace doesn't make you the bad guy, it makes you sane. Let's start with Alejandro. Was I the a-hole for slapping him? At first I felt justified. My body acted before my brain caught up. It was muscle memory, years of anxiety tied to that stupid cake-smashing joke people think is so funny, but never ask how it makes the person feel. I warned him. I made it clear. He crossed a boundary, or at least, I thought he did, and my fight or flight took over. Turns out, it was a misunderstanding. His prank involved balloons, not frosting in my eyelashes. I still stand by how I felt in that moment, but once the truth came out, I apologized. And he did too. That's how grown-ups handle things. We don't always get it right, but we talk, we listen, and we move forward. Alejandro and I are good now, no hard feelings, and honestly, that's how every conflict should end, with clarity and mutual respect. I can laugh about it now, kind of. Okay, not totally, but we're getting there. Now on to Sherry. This one's different. This one stings in a way I can't just laugh off or chalk up to a misunderstanding. Because Sherry's behavior wasn't some poorly executed prank. It was betrayal. Layered, calculated, and repeated. From wearing perfume she knew I was allergic to the weird flirtation with my husband, to the flat-out lies she spread after I cut her off. Every move she made chipped away at my trust, my patience, and my willingness to forgive. It wasn't one moment, it was a pattern. And let's be real, if someone outside your family treated you that way, you'd block them without thinking twice. But when it's your sister, people expect you to just take it. But she's family, they say. Blood is thicker than water. Yeah, well, peace of mind is thicker than drama, and self-respect is thicker than shared DNA. I didn't cut Sherry off because of one thing. I cut her off because she's been walking all over boundaries since we were kids. And I've outgrown the role of the forgiving little sister. This isn't about holding a grudge. It's about drawing a line. And for the first time in my life, I stuck to it. Reddit had my back. That was honestly a surprise. I expected mixed reactions, you know how the internet can be, but no, thousands of people chimed in to say I wasn't the a-hole, that Sherry's behavior was toxic and I was right to protect my marriage and my mental health. That validation meant more than I expected. Not because I needed strangers to tell me I was right, but because I finally felt seen. Like I wasn't crazy for reacting the way I did. Like it was okay to say enough is enough. And that's really what it all comes down to. Boundaries. We talk a lot about them, but people don't always respect them, especially in families. There's this idea that you have to forgive, forget, and move on just because you share blood. But I've learned the hard way that boundaries don't make you mean, they make you free. And when someone keeps crossing the line after you've told them where it is, they're the problem, not you. So, am I the a-hole for slapping Alejandro? Honestly, no. It wasn't ideal, but it wasn't malicious. We talked, we cleared the air, and it actually brought us closer. For cutting off Sherry, not even close, she crossed every single line, and I have every right to protect my peace, my husband, and my home. I don't owe her access to my life just because we used to share a bathroom. And if the rest of the family wants to side with her twisted version of the story, that's their choice. But they better be ready to talk to me directly, not through guilt trips, not through backhanded comments at family reunions, but face to face, with truth and honesty. Because Sherry's lies won't hold up when the truth is right there, clear as day. What do you think? Was I too harsh, too reactive, Or was I finally drawing the line that should have been drawn years ago? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Seriously, your takes, your stories, even your am I the a-hole moments. Share them, let's talk about it. Because this isn't just my story, this is so many people's story, people stuck in messy family dynamics, trying to figure out where love ends and manipulation begins. And if you're loving this kind of drama, if you find yourself yelling, "Yes, Queen," or "What the heck" while watching You Know What to Do, hit that subscribe button, smash that like, drop a comment. This is a safe space for messy, complicated, real family stories. Let's keep the tea brewing, the boundaries strong, and the stories rolling. You don't want to miss what's coming next, trust me.